Here we have Chris's 1970 Daytona project that Josh is working on right now. He's up in the front of the car. We just got the Hellephant into the chassis. What's up everyone? Alex Stivalletti from Detroit Speed, back again with another project vlog, and we have Matt here once again. We're gonna quickly breeze over Steve's Mustang. There's been some progress made, so we're gonna talk about that first and then roll through the rest of the shop and discuss what else the guys have been working on. All right, Matt, so what's new since the last week we were here?
So, got the motor and trans pulled out of this thing. We cut the factory suspension out. These cars had basically like a shock tower here with your control arm mounts and all that good stuff. So that gets totally cut out. Cut out the cross member provisions. We currently have our reinforcement plates here welded in.
Yep.
That basically mounts your cast aluminum subframe structure. So that's like the basis for the suspension. So that's totally welded in. We've deburred the shock tower cutouts. These will get a bolt-in plate. It's a real nice filler panel.
Yeah, so that's the stamp plate we make. We actually just dropped a stamp products video. So I'll link that up above as well. But so the stamped shock tower delete kit, it's bolt-in or weld-in. So Steve, he wanted the bolt-in version?
Yeah, we were bolting them in this application. We go back and forth, you know, it's personal preference, you know, so like I said, here we're bolting them in. But yeah, we're basically at the point of starting suspension assembly here. We just touched up the bare metal stuff where we welded.
So now we'll put the aluminum frame in, get all that bolted up.
Yeah.
Bolt all the suspension up to it because it has your tower and then your control arms bolt up to that and your shock and everything. So now it's just a matter of getting everything bolted up. You can see the jounce bumper will get bolted up right there. So it's coming along. So now we're going to head over to Kevin's GTO and see what's going on there.
Yep.
Before we dive too far into today's video, I wanted to stop by DetroitSpeed.com and show you some of the things that we offer on our website. Now on our homepage, we have a tab up at the top for our products, as well as our vendor products that we offer. These are key partners that we work with to offer products such as brakes, abrasives, fluids, and a handful of other different things that you might need for the project that you're working on. Along with that, we have a tab up at the top for our videos where you can get shop updates, event and racing recaps, as well as tech videos and installation videos to help you through your project and maybe lead you in the right direction of what products you might need. Along with that, we have a tab at the top for projects where you can stay up to date with weekly updates to all of the projects that we have in our project shop at any given time. So thank you guys for stopping by, and be sure to head to the website and maybe pick yourself up a t-shirt in our apparel section. So last time you guys saw Kevin's GTO, we talked about how Josh had boxed in the frame and notched it out for mini tubs back there. So obviously there's a motor on the chassis now. So Matt, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we got the engine and mock-up transmission all in place. Of course, like I said before, LT5 crate motor, makes like 750 horsepower. Yeah, it's pretty much straightforward mounting in our subframe. Or our universal frame here,
which is it's the same cross member as the subframe, essentially.
Yep. So yeah, pretty much bolts right in. We did drop the motor down just a little bit to help with hood clearance. Obviously the blower's super tall,
right?
So we did shorten our mounts a little bit, but other than that, it's still a bolt-in assembly. It does have the dry sump pan on it. We will keep the dry sump stuff.
Okay. So yeah, before Josh was talking, he had mentioned he just went ahead and cut one of the engine mounts and just dropped it down. So yeah, there's still plenty of room too.
Cut them both off and ran them through the mill, shortened them up about 1/4 inch. Just like I said, just to gain anything we can up here because that's a super tall assembly.
Yeah, exactly. Way taller than any LS we've dealt with.
We currently have the Hooker LT swap headers for our subframe mocked up in here.
Yep.
It's a stainless header, super nice quality. We'll probably end up modifying them a little bit once the body goes on with V-bands and stuff like that, but it is, for the money, it's a really nice header.
You know, with the Hooker headers, you have your lasered flange, and then, you know, of course, stainless pipes, whereas, you know, the Profab option, it's a billet machine flange. So, I mean, you have your different spectrum of, you know, Hooker's making the more affordable LS or LT swap header for our applications, whereas the ProFab, I mean, that's more of a higher end header. So, you know, we like to have both options for our customers. So yeah, like Matt said, Hooker headers, LT swap, it's on our website. Just a nice affordable option, looks good, works great. What else has Josh been doing on this chassis?
So, you know, obviously we got all this stuff mounted up here. That's a mock-up T56 Magnum case.
Okay.
We went ahead and it's a pretty sturdy crossmember from the factory, so wanted to utilize it still. We just modified the mounting on the end here.
Okay.
Made some frame brackets, single 7/16 bolt mounts it, so it makes removal a lot easier than the factory mounting positions.
Okay.
And then moving on to the back, you know, we're getting into the 4-link with the coilover crossmember. We've had a 9-inch axle housing mocked up in here. So we're going to adjust some of the brackets a little bit. The car's going to have such a low ride height, so we'll tweak our link angles to make it optimum for the ride height that it's at. And then we've already, being that the body's not on, we've also gotten into brake line plumbing, so you can see that running down the driver's side rail there.
Yeah, and he's done an amazing job on that. I think that's one of the biggest things I admire that Josh does. Anytime he does all the plumbing and routes brake lines, I mean, it looks beautiful, especially on the Riviera where you have, you know, your ABS unit, so there's like hard lines everywhere, but he does a fantastic job at that.
Yeah, plumbing work in that car it's like artwork, and it's one of the details that a lot of people miss on. You know, the car gets towards the end, and plumbing is usually like one of the last things that happens.
Right.
So, you know, it's just a lot of people miss on that detail.
Whereas here, it's like one of the first things that we do. You know, as you have the chassis bare and there's nothing in the way, you just go ahead and mock it all up and run it.
Yep.
That looks awesome. I think we're going to move over to the Daytona now. Cool. So thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. Here we have Chris's 1970 Daytona project that Josh is working on right now. He's up in the front of the car. We just got the Hellephant into the chassis. So we did a video on this engine before. It is a 1,000 horsepower crate engine from Dodge, and right now we're trying to put it into a Camaro subframe. So that's the task that we gave Josh, and he's making some motor mounts for it. So pretty much, what's the process that you've been going through to make this work? Essentially, you know, how did you start?
We started with our just regular motor mounts. Chopped the plate off, and then just get some 5/8 aluminum.
Okay, 5/8 plate,
Yep.
which is what we'll usually use those plates to mill out the ones that we have for our standard LS or LT engine mounts. But I mean, he's just, at this point, it's just a matter of trying to make it work.
Yeah, and
so
then the plate will get drilled and tapped, so the motor mount will bolt on.
okay,
And countersink bolts on all these. They sit nice and flush.
yeah, nice. So that'll get bolted up to the block.
Correct.
And then you'll have that goes on the subframe. So you can see on this side, you know, he's cut that down and just trying to make it work. I mean, that's just, it's an unusual application. It's a Mopar crate engine inside a Camaro subframe. So it's a little bit of a Frankenstein project, but Josh is nailing it down. And one thing I want to note too, since this engine is so large and heavy, you know, to get it in and out of the chassis, Josh had to make some little adapter rods that he could bolt to, but look at the welds on this adapter here. If I can get it to focus. Look at that. Nice little weave to it. So it looks like you've done that once or twice before.
Maybe.
So another question I had, I want to bring Mark in on this. So Mark, can you come and join me over here? I want to talk about pinion angle, which is a big topic of discussion we've had lately. So Mark, how do you determine the pinion angle when you're putting an engine in a vehicle?
So a lot of these cars we mess with and a lot of the customers build, they have a low ride height. When you get a low ride height, everything in the rear of the car comes up. So your drive shaft angle goes way up into the car and you get this pinion angle problem. Well, what we try to do when we set an engine in a car, I like to set it no more than 1.5 degrees down in the back.
Okay.
So that does two things. It gives you a better working angle for your U-joints when your car is lowered, and it don't look like a four-wheel drive truck when you open the hood and the engine's hanging out.
Yeah,
crammed
yeah,
into the firewall.
exactly.
So
Okay.
it gives you a lot more hand room around behind the firewall too. But,
Cool. So where'd you set this one right now?
This one's 1.5 down on the back of the crankshaft.
Okay. Cool. And I think that's kind of the ballpark we usually go for with most of the builds.
And we always cut the trans tunnel up to accommodate later transmissions like your 4L80s, your T56s, or whatever you have.
Right, and this one will get this is a T56 that's going to go into this one.
Yeah, this
okay.
has got one of Mark Bowler's, I guess you call it a stage 3.
Yeah, so the Magnum T56 from Tremec that he goes through and strengthens everything up. So, I mean, yeah, because it's going to have to support 1,000 horsepower, which we've done before. So it'll definitely be able to take the abuse. But yeah, that's what we do. We modify the vehicle around that pinion angle that you set.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you just don't want to get your working angles of your U-joints too far out.
Right, because you don't want, it'll just upset everything.
It will, and a lot of times you'll get a vibration as at higher speeds, like 70 or 60 and above.
Okay.
And sometimes you'll get one where it's smooth all the time, then you get it on the decel. So,
Okay.
but,
Cool. That's a nice little note I wanted to throw into this video. I mean, we're going to do another video where we go more in depth talking about pinion angle and how you should set up your engine, transmission, drive shaft, and rear. So we'll have more to come on that, but at least since we're in the middle of that process, I wanted to bring Mark in to explain a little bit. But Mark, let's actually go to the back of the car and talk about what you've been doing there. So thank you, Josh. Keep up the great work. I love it.
So started off with actually 2 different universal kits we sell. I use both of them.
Okay.
Because
The staggered and non-staggered?
Yeah, I did,
Okay.
because to fit the chassis of the car. So one, you can see these are staggered, so the upper is on its own bracket, the lower is on its own bracket.
Okay.
So I had to move them out. But the upper one, the way it worked out, they get the pinion instant center and ride height correct. I used this bracket and it has the coilover mount on it too, so I had to keep them inboard.
Right.
So
So what you're looking at here, this one here would be our non-staggered axle bracket.
and I'll go back later and clean all this
that up. Okay. So you have your non-staggered on the inside and then your staggered bracket on the outside.
Yeah.
So essentially what that means is the non-staggered is when you have both links off the same axle bracket. We have another video that kind of explains that. It's our quadrillink video, so I'll link that up above so you guys can check it out. But pretty neat little implementation that Mark was able to work out on this one. So you can, still mount the coilover on there, and
yeah, you can see the torque box I fabricated to hold the lower control arm.
Yep. Awesome. Oh yeah, and you put that little gusset in there too, so it strengthens it up real nice. Yeah, because I think the last video we left off, you were still in the mock-up stage, but now you actually have this really cool little plexiglass support you made on there. I think it looks pretty neat.
So I got off the chassis plate here. I got the rear axle at ride height.
Okay.
And this is where the car is actually sitting where off the chassis plate. So this is ground. It's 8.5 inches off the ground.
Okay.
So I took
but that's where it's going to sit at ride height.
8.5 inches and added to the half of the diameter of the rear wheel we're running.
Okay.
So
awesome. And how big of a rear wheel are we going to have on this?
That is a 345 35/20.
Okay.
I think it is.
Cool. I love that. So what you're doing now is are you mocking up the upper coilover mounts? I think you mentioned that earlier.
The upper coilovers I done that this morning, and now I'm working on the track bar mount.
Yeah, let me go around the other side of you there.
Got my cardboard template paper out everywhere.
Okay. So yeah, you got the coilovers mounted up. That looks good. So now the track bar mount. So you're working on the axle side of it now.
So the way a lot of times stuff packages, a lot of times you'll see the track bar in the center of the axle, okay, which is ideal, but sometimes you just can't get there.
Okay.
I'm putting the track bar lower from the center line of the axle because packaging.
Right.
There's no way I can get it up center of the axle. So
okay.
Every one of our quadrillink kits for all the other cars has got the track bar center. So
Yep. Yeah, and it's centered, and of course you want your track bar to be as level as possible.
Correct.
So now you'll do the body side will have to come down as well.
Okay. I will maintain that, keeping it level also.
Okay. Making do with what you have, and it looks good. And you even notched out the frame up there
Yeah,
too.
I notched the frame, so that way we won't have any bottom out or hitting issues. So,
Cool. I mean, you've been working fast back here and everything looks really, really good. So I'm excited to see this project come together. I mean, we really only have been hands-on, you know, every day working on it for, you know, about a month or two now. And I mean, it's been really, really quick progress. So awesome work. I think I'm gonna head over to the other side now and see what those guys have been doing. Cool. So thank you, Mark, I appreciate it. All right, over in the assembly side, Jason's been working on John's C10, and of course Michael and Austin have been working on the Mustang, but we're gonna go upstairs and look at some of the things that Austin has painted recently. Some pretty cool stuff. So these are some of the rear seat delete pieces, and it's this real deep, nice burgundy red color, and the whole entire interior is gonna be this color. We'll have the seats upholstered to match as well. Here you can see the steering column. I mean, that red is just perfect. See, of course, we talked about the suspension in the last video, but there's some more red pieces showing up over here. Some sail panel interior pieces. So I'm excited to see this color on the rest of the car. It's gonna be pretty. But let's head back downstairs and talk to Jason. Jason Needs, is that Holly.com?
Yes it is.
No way, I was right.
Yeah, actually it is. Going through one of their manuals for the Holly EFI.
Look at that.
Making sure we got the right pinouts for all the different injectors.
Cool. The last video that we showed for this truck, you were doing all the interior wiring, so now you're moving on to the engine bay.
Yeah, we move forward. We've worked on the front harnesses, and now we're onto the engine itself, starting to pin out everything for the coils and the injectors. Starting off with the Holly harness, and then we're gonna kind of spiff it up a little bit,
right?
Just shrink and
modify it from there.
Yep, fit it in there a little tighter down to the supercharger, and yeah, like I say, we're making some real progress.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's check out the interior. I know I had asked you to hook up a battery so we could see everything functioning.
Sure.
So I want to show everyone how cool this stuff looks, because
I'm pretty sure you can handle it. You know how to use the key, right?
I do. I think I got my driver's license out of a cereal box, but I can turn a key.
There you go.
Look at that.
So you got our classic instrument gauges. You've got settable colors to let you know for warnings. So, and this is your normal white backlights.
That looks awesome.
And these will change back to white when they're back in specs. Like I say, they're all programmable ranges depending on where you want to be alarmed at. Say, do the swipe again here. You can see the shift light turn on and all the needle test.
That's awesome. What else? I know there's some other tricks that we talked about that you have in here.
We got the turn signals. Don't turn the hazards on here. We got the column sitting there. So there's our turn signals hidden in the gauges. And then up in the boost up there, we'll have the high beam.
See, that's really trick stuff, because it's like, you know, it's kind of like in your face, you know, it's modified, but at the same rate, it's still hidden.
Yeah,
so
those custom little things that Classic does and does a good job at hiding for us in their gauges.
Gotta have that AC, that's for sure.
And we got again our Holly touchscreen.
Yep.
When I say you can set all customizable touchscreen, you can multiple pages, all kinds of different, whatever you want. You can hear the relays turn on. That'll actually be for the halo lights.
That's cool.
But yeah, you can do all kinds of pages, different settings, different warnings, depending on where you want.
So you've just been plugging away, just kind of making stuff work now. That's awesome.
Yeah, being able to do all this before we go to paint. And like I say, once we're done and painted, it'll be real quick. Just throw it back in, plug it all up.
Yeah, I know you said that wiper button works too, so that's got our... You can hear it, you can't see it. See, that's our the push button washer function, so it'll cycle the wipers 3 times along with the squirter, so look at that. Yeah, those gauges turned out beautiful. The amount of options that you get from Classic Instruments, I mean,
everything. I mean,
they're
down to the needles. I mean, the backside of the needles, they blacked out, so that way you don't see them. You know,
there's no reflection off the face.
Yeah, there's just so many little touches that you don't even realize, and so many different ways that they can do it. And I mean, any of the ranges you want, depending on what the motor is, so yeah, it's as I say, they're great to work with. Like I say, you get what you want.
I'm a fan of the depth too.
Yeah,
like it looks awesome. The way I look at it, I mean, it's instrumentation. It's, you know, like a Rolex, essentially.
Yeah.
Just the process and the materials that they use that goes behind everything, and that ultimate fit and finish.
Yep. And we'll see once everything gets all painted and finished up.
I'm excited.
Pad on there, like I say, this is all still just mock-up.
Yeah, a lot of really awesome progress, and I'm excited to see this one start roasting some tires off, because it's got plenty of power for it.
Yeah, this will be a fun one.
Cool. Thank you, Jason.
Yep.
Appreciate it. Matt mentioned in a previous video that we don't always do a complete build here at Detroit Speed. Sometimes it might be a roller car or a previous project that needs maintenance, but my friend Justin gave me a call. He has a 1969 Camaro that has all of our suspension, and he wanted to add a power steering cooler to the car. We had a slot where we could bring the car in, so we got him set up, and I'll give you a run through on his car and tell you what we've been working on. The story behind Justin's car is he has had the car for about 16 years now. Originally, when we first moved to North Carolina, he had purchased the mini tub leaf spring kit and some bolt-on front suspension. So, you know, he's one of the first customers we had here in North Carolina purchasing our products, and he did the work himself, did a fantastic job, but he moved to California for work, and then Ironworks Speed and Custom did a complete overhaul on the car. They did a hydroform subframe in the front, swapped an LSA into it. It's got our subframe connectors and quadrilinks. So he went through and made a bunch of upgrades, because Justin likes to drive this car, he likes to drive it hard, and he likes to have some fun. So when he called, you know, we decided to bring it in, upgrade the power steering system, just throw a cooler in it so we wouldn't have to worry about any high temps or anything boiling over. But you know, that's just something quick we're gonna knock out for him and get him back on the road, since he is local now and the car's over here and he can't get it back to Ironworks. So, you know, we're gonna bring him in, take care of that. But overall, I mean, the build quality on this car is amazing. You know, I don't think there's much that we would change to it. It's got plenty of power, it handles, it's got monoblock forge lines on it with big Willwood brakes, of course, Michelin tires, nice and sticky. But it's a really, really nice car, and I know there's sentimental value with Justin too. He's owned it for so long. So we're excited to knock the power steering out on this, get it dialed in for him, and then get him back driving it. And he's also got our 69 Camaro gauge panel in it too. So really neat car, really nice, sounds amazing, runs great. So we're excited to get the car back to him and get him enjoying it, because we're coming up on some nice weather here, and it's going to be boost weather. So get that LSA cranked up and have some fun. So we also have another car coming into the shop. Matt, what's going on?
About to unload a car.
Yeah. Southern Integrity delivered the car, and those guys work super fast. So the end of the day here, but we're gonna unload a car, and I'll flip the camera around when we unload it and show you guys.
Yeah, he thought he was gonna have to ship it, so that's cool if you were able to fit it.
All right, so there you guys have it. New project in the shop. It's a 1967 Camaro. We're actually gonna leave the plastic wrap on it because we won't be getting, you know, digging right into this project right away. So might as well leave it protected. Right now it's a roller. It has our subframe in the front, still leaf sprung in the rear, but we have a new rear axle for it, so we get a quadrilink swap. But that's it right there. So thank you guys for tuning in and watching this video. If you'd like, go ahead and subscribe to our channel and keep up to date with more projects and product videos, and we'll see you guys next time. So thank you.